So if you're a metal guitarist, and whether you're a beginner or you've been playing for 20 years and you've kind of just been playing along with your favorite songs and you're not quite sure exactly what's going on or how to construct your own riffs and your own songs, this is another great video for you. In this video, we'll dive a little deeper into the minor scale and how you can use it to write a really cool riff, and then how to use it to construct chords to write a really melodic, beautiful sounding chorus. Something like this. So the first thing we want to do is have a really good understanding of the minor scale pattern or the shape and how to play it in a few different spots. But today we're just going to focus on one spot, and the spot I like to focus on is on the 5th fret of the 5th string. Again, I'm always in a drop tuning, I'm in drop C. And one thing we're going to add to this scale is what we can call extensions. So it's really just the next notes in the minor scale going into the next octave or the octave below where we're playing. So for instance, if we start on the 5th fret, that last note is the same as our first note. So all we need to do is remember the pattern that we started with to find our next note. So from this 7th fret, all we need to do is slide up one whole step to the 9th fret. And that 9th fret is the same as our second note in the original starting point on the 7th fret. So it looks like this. Those are the same notes in 2 different octaves. So the whole pattern would look like this. And we can do the same thing going backwards. So we can think of it this way. If we play the 8 notes in the scale, these last 2 notes are the 7th note moving into the 8th note, which is really just starting over at the 1st note. So all we need to do on that 1st note is just slide down a whole step, the same way we would at the ending of our original scale pattern. So these 2 note groupings are exactly the same, just in a different octave. One thing you can do as a workaround is use your tuner, play the scale starting from the 5th fret, label all the notes, whether you write them down on a piece of paper or just memorize them in your head, and just make note that anywhere else you choose to play on the fretboard has to be one of those notes in order to sound good over top of or with whatever you're playing. So to hopefully sum this all up, really our new pattern looks like this. So it's just the minor scale with one more extra note extension going this way and one more extra note extension going this way. So now we're just moving outside of this little box shape that we had only on the 5th fret. So now we're going to look at constructing chords using notes in this minor scale. Some of you may be familiar already with playing a power chord using only 2 notes. But we really need 3 notes for it to be considered a full chord, whether major, minor, diminished, augmented, and there's plenty of other chords we can go over, but that can be for another video. So a really simple way to start constructing chords is just pick 3 random notes in the scale shape that we already know and try playing them together to see how they sound. So we really don't even need to know the chord names, although that will be helpful in the future. Right now, we just want to get used to the sound and see what we can come up with just using the scale shape we already know. So for instance, I'm going to choose the 3rd note in the scale, the 4th note in the scale, and the 8th note in the scale, or also our 1st note. So we would have, and if we play that together as a chord, it has a really nice sound. And then one thing I like to do is keep that same structure and just move one note around and see how it sounds. But remember, it has to be a note that's in the scale pattern that we already know. So I'm just going to lift my 3rd finger off. So I'm now playing the 3rd note, the 4th note, and the 7th note. My 1st finger is barring the 4th note and the 7th note. So these 2 chords sound like this. So after messing around with some of these chords for a bit, I came up with a progression that I really liked for a chorus, and it goes like this. So even though we're using the minor scale, to me that has a really melodic, beautiful sound, and I can already hear a lead guitar line over top of that. So now we're going to use the concept of extensions that we talked about earlier and try to come up with a nice lead line to go over top of that. So the lead line I came up with is really just using all of the notes in the pattern we already know on the 5th fret, plus an extension, which is the 3rd note of the minor scale, just up in a higher octave. And to find that note, I just played the first 3 notes on the 5th fret of the 5th string, and then played the next octave up, and chose this 3rd note as my starting point. I just messed around with a few note patterns until I came up with something interesting that really sounded good over top of the chords. And the key here is you don't really have to play anything fast. You can just choose a few notes and just see what sounds good. And over time, as you get used to what you're playing and what sounds good, you can start adding more notes, make it a little faster, or make it a little more intricate. So here's the lead guitar line I came up with. And hopefully this unlocks the fretboard a little bit more using the minor scale so that you can immediately start applying it to writing your own metal songs. Again, starting simpler is always better because you can always add more notes, make it a little more complicated, or add speed later. So again, getting very familiar with the minor scale and how to play it in different positions and internalizing the overall sound quality or mood are probably the most important parts. And as always, start small, take it slow, and build, and you'll be able to create something really awesome in no time. And if you found this video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this. See you in the next one.